When disaster strikes, human instinct is immediate and physical. We want to rush in, clear the rubble, and help those in pain. In the social sector, this instinct drives what researchers call the doer or techno-managerial approach. It is an entire ecosystem of organizations built to execute programs that treat the immediate, visible symptoms of a crisis. Look at groups like Rotary or Lions Clubs. Their model relies on massive volunteer networks delivering direct, hands-on care, like vision screenings or physical immunizations. Or consider fraternal orders like the Knights of Columbus. Their volunteer base organizes localized logistics to meet pressing neighborhood needs, filling boxes for food drives and running winter coat programs. The underlying philosophy driving all of these groups is straightforward. Problems exist because people lack immediate resources. Therefore, the highest form of service is the physical, efficient transfer of those resources to the people who need them. This creates a specific psychological profile, the pure doer. For these volunteers, the physical process of helping, the social connection, and the act of service itself is where they find meaning, regardless of whether the broader problem actually gets solved. You can think of this approach like the animation you see here, an ambulance stationed at the bottom of a steep cliff, rapidly treating casualties the moment they hit the ground. But as we pan up to the top of the cliff, the flaw in the model becomes obvious. No matter how many ambulances you buy, or how efficient paramedics get, the casualties will never stop if no one bothers fixing the broken road. We see this reality in the data. Billions of philanthropic dollars are spent, and millions of volunteer hours are logged every year. Yet global metrics on poverty and hunger remain stubbornly stagnant. Relying entirely on direct service guarantees an infinite loop of relief. Treating the trauma of a crash does absolutely nothing to prevent the next car from driving off the edge. To stop the crashes entirely, you have to leave the ambulance behind, hike up the rock face, and repair the highway itself. This is the domain of the strategist. These reform-minded organizations abandon the delivery of direct aid, choosing instead to analyze root causes and design systems-level interventions. You find this approach at elite convening bodies like the World Economic Forum. They don't run local soup kitchens. They leverage their platform to influence global agendas and industry standards. Think tanks like the Brookings Institution also operate here. Their role is to generate the intensive research and policy analysis required to shift the ideological direction of governments. Even major private philanthropies like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation prioritize this upstream strategy. Rather than treating sick patients one by one, they fund technological breakthroughs to engineer new vaccines and eradicate diseases at their biological source. By moving from a responsive posture to a proactive one, strategists use the levers of policy, technology, and power to stop harm before a local volunteer is ever required. The people who gravitate toward this upstream work are driven by an achiever mindset. To them, the actual process of doing the work is simply a necessary cost to reach a specific, measurable destination. We map this psychological divide on the chart here. In the logic-driven outcome quadrant is the investor archetype, motivated strictly by business efficiency, ROI, and hard metrics. Right alongside them is the dynast. These data points cluster far from the empathetic doer quadrants. The dynast uses strategic philanthropy primarily to build generational legacy and ensure the continuity of their family's influence. This creates a deep friction within the social sector. On one side, you have doers, brimming with immediate empathy but lacking systemic efficacy. On the other, strategists who successfully pull the levers of global change but are often driven by cold metrics or corporate legacy. It presents a difficult question. If we want to genuinely repair the world, are we forced to choose between compassionate inefficiency and detached corporate calculus? That traditional binary leaves out a critical third group. A rapidly growing network of problem solvers is rejecting this divide entirely. They are known as the reformers. These individuals are obsessively outcome-oriented, but their primary motivation isn't business logic or legacy. It is pure empathetic service and the pursuit of universal well-being. They operate on a philosophy of impact as service. They believe that providing temporary, feel-good release is actually an inferior form of charity compared to the grueling, invisible labor required to fix the underlying system. A reformer will willingly spend their time buried in complex data mapping, in coalition building, and tedious policy grinds, solely because they know that is the exact mechanism required to achieve a permanent outcome. They prove that systemic strategy does not have to be fueled by a desire for a tax break. It can be driven by the deepest, most authentic form of human empathy. You see this mindset clearly in the modern movement known as effective altruism, where participants rigorously analyze data to answer a single question: how can I do the absolute most good? This leads to difficult choices. As seen in this malaria net distribution, a reformer will often bypass the emotional reward of local volunteering. Instead, they will fund cheap, scientifically proven interventions halfway across the globe. They make this choice not out of coldness toward their local community, but out of a strict mathematical dedication to reducing the maximum amount of human suffering possible with the resources they have. It leads to the ultimate paradox of the reformer. They consider their own work a failure if they are still required to do it tomorrow. True impact isn't about finding a cause that just makes you feel good. It's about engineering a solution so permanent your service becomes entirely obsolete.